Good evening, you're watching Estuary News. Coming up, we check out a new retail hub in Beverley, we showcase another adorable canine in our Dog of the Week, and my guest tonight is Dawn Nielsen, chairman of the Grimsby Camera branch, to talk about a forthcoming Real Ale Festival in the town. Welcome to Estuary News. I'm Hugh Richards. Time now for the news headlines.
There has been an increase in the number of reported rapes across Humberside and Lincolnshire for both adults and children. The Home Office and Office for National Statistics data for the last 12 months shows that compared to previous figures, for Humberside, 76 more adults reported abuse and 41 more children. And across Lincolnshire, there was an increase of 99 adults and 28 children. Recorded rapes refer to all crimes reported to and recorded by the police. Across the UK, 95% of offences against adults were against women and 80% of recorded rape offences against children under 16 were girls. A controversial application for 400 homes in New Waltham has gone before North East Lincolnshire Council's Planning Committee. The committee say they want a full consultation with local residents, parish councillors and nearby Waltham Toll Bar School before any decision is made about the proposed development.
There was a long debate at the Planning Committee this morning about this controversial application at Toll Bar for over 400 properties, and largely because of concerns about the highways issues, it's been agreed that the application will be deferred until we have assurances, first of all, that a major highways improvement scheme, which is going to be funded by the Lincolnshire Local Enterprise Partnership, is actually going to go ahead, and we probably won't know about that until the new year.
Police investigating reports of a serious sexual assault and robbery on Albert Avenue in Hull have arrested a man in connection with the incident. A 25-year-old local man is in police custody. Witnesses are still being sought following the alleged assault on a 40-year-old woman at around 9:30 p.m. on Friday the 30th of October. And it's been reported that retailer Next is now to work with Hull City Council and other businesses to improve traffic congestion around Kingsford Retail Park in Hull. It comes after the new £12 million store was approved this week after previously being on hold due to traffic concerns. The store will be built on open land on Ashcombe Road opposite the park. Well, that's the latest from the news. If you do have a story for us, you can ring us on 01472 3155. 61 on Facebook or Twitter at Estuary TV. Until next time, goodbye.
At a cost of £125 million, Beverley's brand new Flemingate development has opened, consisting of several popular high street chains, as well as a 500-space car park, a 1,000-seater cinema and a Premier Inn. It'll offer a new type of shopping experience to residents of the town and visitors from the wider area, as Dan Kemp went to find out.
As it was opened by Hull's famous bee lady, Jean Bishop, long queues of people waited to take their first glimpse inside the new Debenham store on Flemingate, one of its marquee attractions. And it's hoped it'll make a real economic impact on Beverley.
Beverley's been under retail for a generation in terms of the size of retailing and the amount that could fit into Beverley. It only trades at about 38-39 pence in the pound of the Beverley spending pound is actually spent in Beverley. A market town like Beverley should be in the mid-50s. So it's actually sort of correcting the balance that should have been happening sort of 10-20 years ago. So it's now actually bringing it into the modern era.
It's taken 10 years from the first mention of a new site in Beverley's historic town to the almost finished product we see now, with several challenges that had to be overcome in between.
10 years ago this site was only a chemical works. 10 years ago in the Army Transport Museum, they both shut down the same year, and we set about a plan to regenerate this whole area, which has included 130 houses which have already been completed, the college which opened in September.
Created 700 jobs in the local community. We've got the college next door, East Riding College, and we are in conversations with them. Their students will obviously come and shop here, but the hope is also that some of them will develop their skills and come over here and work as well.
The Minster is integral to the design of the scheme. The dead centre of the Minster is the dead centre of the main mall, and it's what it actually done is bringing the Minster right into the middle of Beverley. It was one end, it was a bookend of Beverley was the Minster. It's now right in the heart of Beverley because of the main part of Beverley and the Flemingate scheme.
If you look down Flemingate, if you look at what they've done, there's 1 million bricks gone down. If you look at the shape of the building, it's not a typical mall. This is being built very sympathetically towards Beverley, so it will meld in.
And now work is continuing to get the remainder of the site ready.
Still to come tonight, puppy love with our dog of the week and a roundup of all the latest local sports news. For the 3 days next week, Grimsby will be awash with a whole host of beers and ales. It's all in aid of the second Grimsby Real Ale Festival hosted by CAMRA, the campaign for real ale. Dawn Nielsen is the chairman of the Grimsby CAMRA branch and joins me now in the studio to whet our appetites. Dawn, thanks very much for coming in.
Thank you.
It's a little bit early in the day for me, so I can't offer you anything, I regret.
That's fine.
Maybe a little later after we've finished.
Okay.
When and where is the Ale Festival?
The festival runs from the 12th to the 14th of November, and it's at the Matrix Bar, which is not known for its real ale. It's right next door to Witherspoons on Bethlehem Street, right in the centre of Grimsby.
Just round the corner from the railway station?
Yeah, two seconds walk from the railway station and just a second away from a bus station, so plenty of public transport, no drivers.
Excellent. Well, that's absolutely right. How many ales will you have on?
We're going to have 24 real ales this year, all on gravity. There's no hand pulls, generally because we are really establishing ourselves back into running beer festivals in our area. And we will also have 3 full-strength ciders and a perry as well.
Excellent.
We do concentrate on those.
Just what's the distinction then between the hand-pulled and the gravity?
Right, gravity means effectively what happens is most times when you walk into a pub, you're generally greeted in a real ale pub with someone with a hand pull, pulling a pint. On gravity, it's a small tap. You don't get a head as such. There's no sparkler. But the beer is still the same. Sometimes it actually tastes a little bit better, but not. You know, it all depends on the beer. Generally, there's no bad beer out of a gravity. There's no bad beer from a hand pull. You might get a slight difference, but not a lot.
Okay. You're going to be offering locally brewed ales?
Well, I've tried to source from our local brewers. We've got Willie's on Cleethorpes Seafront, which has got the microbrewery inside the pub,
yes,
which anyone can see.
Very well known to the locals, yeah.
Yes. We've got John Rowett Brewing, and he's out in North Thoresby. He's only been brewing for, I'd say, 2 years maybe, but he won a silver at last year's beer festival with his oat stout.
Oat stout?
Oat stout, yes, and this year he's got...
That's sort of beer made out of porridge?
It's a very... Try to think of a Guinness, but a really excellent Guinness.
Okay.
Personally, if you taste Guinness can taste a little bit tinny and a little bit flat. Whereas if you get the proper stouts, the smaller individual stouts, you'll really taste a difference.
Just for the sake of all the lawyers out there, Guinness does make a perfectly acceptable stout.
Yes, it does. It is a good stout. I'm just saying, each place, the waters will be different. So, again, with the likes of the major stouts, there are lots of, the water is taken from different places, whereas in North Thoresby, John's brewing a stout, it will be water from North Thoresby.
What is it that you look for in a good real ale?
That is like saying what you look for in the perfect dinner. Nobody can tell you. It's individual choice. There's many, many different types of ales. There's hoppy lights. For this year, the one that's perplexed a few people is black IPA.
Black IPA?
Black IPA.
India Pale Ale. The word pale rather contradicts the word black,
exactly,
doesn't it?
But we've got a black IPA. So it's what makes a great ale. It's taste. It's all personal choice. What I might really enjoy, you might taste and go, that's not really my sort of thing. Back to the Guinness. Someone who will sit there and drink a glass of Guinness will say, this is fantastic. It might not be to everyone's choice. You know, someone else might like, I don't know, a glass of Willie's.
Why real ale? CAMRA is the campaign for real ale. What is a pretend ale?
It's not so much a pretend ale. The problem was, a long time ago, CAMRA was formed about 43 years ago. I think it was 1972 it was formed. I'm not 100% sure on that one. But it was effectively, you had the major brewers monopolising the market, and the small... We were built of a nation of small brewers, and then slowly the recipes were taken and they were being brewed by the likes of Whitbread and Tetley's, and they took over and they monopolised it. A lot of people from a long time ago talk about Diamond, Double D beers.
I remember it from the 70s, Diamond. Double Diamond does wonders.
Yes, and there's lots of those ales have gone because literally there was no difference in it. Everything was just a case of homogenised into a can.
So it was just sort of factory production line. No craftsmanship was involved.
Yes.
I have an awful confession. My father used to be an advertising man, and he's the man responsible for writing the Carlsberg Probably line.
Ah.
Do you disapprove of lager drinkers?
No.
Good.
As CAMRA, we don't disapprove. Everybody's got a personal choice. It's not that we are real ale police or anything. We would like to protect the pub culture, and we'd like to protect the real ale so that when you walk into a pub, it isn't a bank of 12 lagers, that you can walk in and say, well, I like that beer because it's got a fruit in, or I like that beer because it's lighter and hoppier. We'll
come back to that. We'll talk about the pub culture a little bit more, and we'll talk about what there is available after the break. Dawn, please don't go away. Stay with us. We'll continue to talk about beer, and join me after the break as we find out which dog is the top dog in our Dog of the Week, and Erica Barker joins me on the sofa to have a look at what's happening in the region. Still with me in the studio is Dawn Nielsen, tempting our taste buds with an upcoming Real Ale Festival in Grimsby. People go on about real ale, Dawn, in the way that people go on about wine or Scotch whisky. That they'll talk about it with having a cheeky little hint of lavender, and you'll be amused by the price or something like that. There is a certain amount of rubbish talked about beer, isn't there?
There is, and it's also the fact that a lot of people think that CAMRA is generally beady old geeks of men in their 40s.
Yeah, well, nothing wrong with being in your 40s, but
we're not all.
I do tend to think of slightly beer-stained beards and Aran sweaters.
CAMRA's changing. We do have a lot. We actually have a youth branch. Obviously, they have to be over 18. There is no 14-year-olds. There is no free pass to get in the pub. We have an 18 to 26. There's not that many in our area. Across the water in Hull, Hull have quite a good gathering of youngsters. And each area has their own, like I'm chairman for Grimsby in Grimsby in North East Lincolnshire CAMRA, but we've also got Louth, we've got Scunthorpe, we've got Hull across the water, and we kind of all join together for certain things.
So CAMRA's thriving, but are pubs thriving? We hear that so many pubs are closing every day across the country that the licensed trade is in trouble.
It is, generally because people are starting to move away. There's a massive disparity in taxes. If you walk into any supermarket, you will see the same beers that you can buy in your local pub, but your local pub has to charge you a set price. But they've also got to take in account for staff wages, their overheads, everything's got to be accounted for it. Whereas literally you can walk into the likes of the biggest supermarket around the corner, pick up the same beer, and it'll be a lot less.
So those taxes, effectively the government is just taxing the pubs, that part of our culture, of our communities, taxing them out of existence.
Exactly. We'd like to see the taxes brought a little bit more in line. That if you go in and you buy a beer from the supermarket, that it's not going to be exactly the same price, obviously, because you're taking it home and you're using it yourself. But we'd like to see more of a true price, and also the fact that the small microbrewers, like I have at the festival and all the other festivals have around, they don't really get a sure shot because they can't get their product into the shops because they just can't do the quantities that the shops and some of the larger pub chains actually require them to do.
Is it the smoking ban? Has that harmed pubs as well?
To be honest, no. Because you speak to people. Smokers are still going to the pub. And I think if you look at the latest stats, there are less smokers in the country. And you can't really say that every single smoker will be the person that goes to the pub. I think it had a catastrophic effect at first. But like with everything, when law changes, people change with it. So there is still smokers going out.
People just change their habits, and you see those forlorn little huddles of people standing out in the rain.
Or the vapour sticks.
And the vapours, yeah. Just remind us, details again of the Grimsby Beer Festival.
It is, we open at 3 o'clock on Thursday,
right?
The 12th, and then it's 11 till 11 on Friday the 13th, 11 till 11 on Saturday the 14th, and it's at the Matrix in Bethlehem Street.
Dawn, thank you very much. I look forward to having a pint.
Okay.
From pints to puppies, here's another dog of the week.
Dog number 211 is a Jack Russell Cross Chihuahua, we think. A bitch, very nice temperament, clean in the kennels, will make somebody a very nice, loyal companion.
Erica Barker's with me now to have a look at what's been happening across the region. Erica, you're starting off with a rather tragic story.
Yes, I am. So this is the tributes being paid to a 54-year-old taxi driver, Darrell Singh, who was killed when he was hit by his own car as he tried to stop it from rolling down the street on Rudford Lane in Hessel. This was the early hours of Sunday. It says Mr. Singh has been described by his family as a doting husband and father who would do anything for anyone. And that is within the Hull Daily Mail. Awful news.
Terrible accident, yes.
Leads on then to the 21-year-old Grimsby man. Tributes are also being paid to him following his tragic death in a Barnet Top crash. Reese died after his car left the A15 coming to the rest of Barnet Top roundabout. The red BMW he was driving was hidden by trees on the island and was only discovered around 20 hours later by police officers.
Yes, if anybody knows that roundabout, it's the turn off from the motorway to go north to the Humber Bridge, and it's one of those enormous flyover roundabouts, and it's just a great, there's a little copse in the middle of it, isn't there?
Yeah. Yeah, there is. But yeah, very sad news this week with that happening. I'm going to move on to the Humber Bridge this morning then. I came in, traffic was manic. It seems like I wasn't the only one. It says motorists have been facing delays this morning after Humber Bridge's new tagging system went live. So the toll booths have been adapted, so you now have a barrier that you have to go through. So people who do have the new tag electronic system installed in the car, put in the car to have cheaper tolls and supposed to be more efficient, that's going to go live in a few days. But today it was getting people used to the fact of, the system's changing.
And that screwed up all the traffic completely, did it? So
yeah,
it's supposed to make everything
it's
flow much more
It's a mystery how it does. Yeah, I mean, it does say this in the Hull Daily Mail. I think the spokesperson from Humber Bridge said something slightly different to that, but I could speak from my experience. I was a little bit late for work this morning, but...
Okay, very well. You have your excuse.
Yes, I do. I certainly do. Moving on then to Brig, stands second in a competition for the Great British High Street. In first currently is West Kilbride. Shops in Brig are urging people to vote to get Brig top of the list for Best British High Street. You can do that by voting on Facebook and looking for Brig is Best.
And what is it that we're looking for in a good high street? What makes a high street best?
That's a never-ending question, isn't it?
It's
brilliant for Brig, though.
Brilliant for Brig, yes.
Fantastic. So. Brilliant for Brig. Have you got time for one more?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Okay, so the last one I do have then is Beverley Minster. Do you know that Beverley Minster is the closest replica of Westminster Abbey?
Yes.
Did you know that?
I did.
Well, now I feel very insuperior.
I know much more about Beverley Minster. Beverley Minster is bigger than a third of all the English cathedrals.
Really?
It's a third of English cathedrals are smaller than Beverley Minster. And yes, the Westminster Abbey, in fact, is based on Beverley Minster, not the other way around, because the west front of Westminster Abbey was rebuilt in the 17th century by Nicholas Hawksmoor, great rival to Christopher Wren, and he based it entirely on Beverley Minster.
Wow, you teach me something new every day.
Well, I'm going to go on. The fact is that after the Great Fire of London, they diverted money that was going to be paying for the rebuilding of Westminster Abbey in order to rebuild St Paul's. Christopher Wren, of course. This infuriated Nicholas Hawksmoor, the other architect, and of course Westminster Abbey is dedicated to St Peter and St Paul's is dedicated to St Paul, and that's where we get the phrase robbing Peter to pay for Paul.
That's fantastic.
This is all. I'm very glad that we have these opportunities to discuss 17th century architecture, Erica.
You really do teach me new things daily.
Have you got a final story?
Well, I'll tell you the story around this one. So basically, do you watch Doctor Who?
I do, I love it.
Okay, so Jenna Coleman, who stars in Doctor Who, is going to be starring in a new TV series that's being filmed, parts of it in Beverley, called Victoria. It's about the life of the young Queen, which she's going to play the part of. And it's understood that it's going to be used for filming coronation scenes.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Erica, and thank you for listening to me there. Time now for the sport.
Hull City manager Steve Bruce has been nominated for the Sky Bet Championship Manager of the Month award for October. Bruce led the Tigers to 13 points from a possible 15 over the course of a month and became the first manager to take the club into the quarter-finals of the League Cup thanks to victory over Premier League side Leicester City. Connor Townsend is to stay with the Mariners until at least January the 1st. The 22-year-old defender has now played 4 games for Grimsby Town since he joined prior to the game against FC Halifax Town in October, with Paul Hurst keen to keep the lonely defender at Blundell Park. And ahead of their game on Saturday against St Albans, here's the Town's boss.
I think he's a quality player. You know, I was delighted when I first got him. We'd agreed it was for a month. Thought he would go back in truth, but he's enjoyed his football again and shown what a good player he is. So, you know, as I said, delighted that he's decided to stay until January.
Elsewhere on loan, midfielder Tommy Rowe has had his loan stay with the Iron extended by a further 2 months. The 27-year-old will remain with Scunthorpe United until December 28th after United's home clash against Rochdale. Rowe has made 6 appearances for Mark Robbins' side so far, scoring a goal in the 4-2 away win at Oldham Athletic. And Hull United AFC will host Bottisford Town in their first match at the KC Lightstream Stadium next week. The amateur football club agreed a partnership with Hull Kingston Rovers a fortnight ago to play their home games at the stadium moving forwards. Kick-off is at 7:45 on Tuesday, and that's the latest from the sport.
That's almost it for tonight, but we do just have time to show a couple of autumn snaps before we go, sent in by our viewers. The first of which shows Rosie the dog enjoying the brisk autumn air at Greetham Retreat, sent in to us by Greetham Retreat Holidays. And Martin Gaunt sent in another stunning slap of Hubbard's Hill. Please keep the pictures coming. They're very much appreciated and they're very beautiful. If you have a story for us, then please visit our Facebook and Twitter pages or email news@estuary.tv or phone Grimsby 01472 31553. Until tomorrow, good evening.
Estuary TV weather, sponsored by Rix Petroleum, your local family-owned heating oil supplier this winter.
Hello and welcome to Estuary TV's weather. Friday mostly dry and misty, but outbreaks of rain spreading in during the morning and becoming quite breezy by the afternoon, becoming clearer and drier during the evening and a maximum temperature of 16 degrees. Staying mild for most of Saturday with some unsettled showers or longer spells of rain, but also some drier, brighter interludes.
Rix, servicing the region's oil boilers this winter from a name you can trust. Get in touch at rix.co.uk or call us on 01482 838383.